Hey everyone, today it's time to get cozy and review the cameras that I used in 2024. For those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Laura and I'm a freelance DP and photographer based in LA. Today I'll be talking about the cameras that I used this year. I'll be giving a brief overview of what I like and dislike about them and my experience using them, along with some of my favorite photos that I got with each camera. Then I'll be sharing some stats about each camera, like how many shutter clicks each camera took, how many rolls I got developed, and their success rate. Lastly, I'll be giving out these cute little awards for different categories like best camera for portraits, best for travel, biggest wildcard, etc. I just really like my tiny things, if you can't tell. And lastly, be sure to like and subscribe just so you could see more of me and my cameras and our adventures next year. First up is my Mamiya 645. Some of my favorite photos from the year are the ones that I took at Earth Day at a community garden. One of my friends, David, manages the garden and invited me and Joy to come shoot it. It was just a great time with great people. I also loved shooting Lauren and her restaurant on this camera, and I'm really proud of these shots. At the end of this year, I also shot some photos on a road trip to Arizona that I took with Christian, and the video for that one will be coming out first thing next year. And then I also shot some photos for my friends Melissa and Efren. They were reading their vows to each other, which I thought was so cool. And lastly, I shot some grad photos for family. I love how these came out, and it was just such a special moment to be a part of. One thing, if I had to be really picky, is that sometimes it's almost like too perfect. It's like too dependable. And what I mean by that is sometimes the lens can look too sharp, too clean, especially when you're taking photos from further away or it's really bright outside and you're stopped down. But as soon as you get up close with this camera, it truly becomes magical. Next up is my Canon Ae-1. I didn't shoot too much with this camera this year, but I did shoot grad photos on it, and I really like the way these turned out. This is a really good quality camera. I know like everyone has this camera. Because it's so popular, they're really easy to fix. I actually got this camera serviced this year, and it was actually my dad's, and he's only got it serviced once before, and that was for a lens. So it's really a testament to the quality of this camera and how long it can last, and I'm so happy that you can get it repaired and have it last even longer. Up next is my Contax T2. This year I shot Lauren and her kitchen. I shot Sutton's going away party when she actually moved from LA to Portland. I brought it to New York. I shot the Manhattan Challenge with my friend Julia. And I also shot a test roll of Phoenix 200. I love how reliable this camera is. I have had very few technical problems with it. Also, it just feels so sturdy in your hands. Especially because it has flash too, it's so unique. The Zeiss lens really sets it apart. It feels like a disposable camera on steroids. Next up is this beast, the Kiev 88. I took my Kiev to Portland this year, and I also shot 4 test rolls on this camera. I think we all know how the first test roll came out. The other 3 rolls were taken after my trip to Portland and after I changed the backing for the camera. The final consensus is that it was a shutter issue, but it also has to do with the interplay of the backing and the shutter, and that's why changing the backing fixed it, at least for now. I might make a more in-depth video about it later, so let me know in the comments below if that's something you'd like to see. But overall, here were some of my favorite photos from the year. I love the square format and also the lens on this camera. It has always made some of my favorite images. It just has a delicate quality to it that I really have always loved. However, this is my most inconsistent camera by far. The stats later on in this video will reveal just how bad it is. This year was the year that I got my Nikon F3, and I took it to New York. I shot engagement photos with it, and I also shot my first test roll with it. For New York, it was just great. Usually my Mamiya 645 is one of my go-to travel cameras, which is kind of unfortunate considering how heavy it is for a film camera, but this camera is so light and so easy to use. I also shot engagement photos for my friends Alan and Addie, which I absolutely love. And I also shot a test roll in Los Angeles. I truly love this camera, its build and the photo quality. However, I did have some issues at 1/2000 shutter. A lot of the frames that I shot at this speed came back, half of the frame was darker than the rest of it. I didn't use that shutter speed in New York, and I didn't have any problems on the roll whatsoever. And lastly, we have the Widelux. I shot with the F7 in New York this year, and I loved it so much that I bought the F6. This camera is absolutely wild and unique. It just feels so good in my hands, and it doesn't feel obnoxiously big or heavy. I've always loved shooting on wide lenses as a DP. It's just something that stylistically I've always been very drawn to, but I don't like the fact that the distortion can get tiring to look at. So when I found out that this camera doesn't distort the same as fisheye or ultra-wide lenses, I was blown away. You can learn more about exactly why that is in my full Widelux video here. I love the panoramic format of this camera and the fact that it is a swing lens camera. That is so unique and opens up so many doors for creativity. And now here are some fun stats for my cameras this year. These are how many rolls I got developed this year. The Mamiya came in first at 10 rolls, then the Kiev 88, Widelux, Nikon F3, and Contax T2 were all tied, and then the Canon Ae-1 is last at 1. Here's how many shutter clicks each camera took. And finally, here is how many imperfections came up on each roll per camera and their success rate. The Kiev 88 had a whopping 65%, whereas every other camera was 90s or 100. And now the moment you've been waiting for, the tiny awards. The first category is biggest wildcard. It's a nice way of saying the camera was very inconsistent. I think it's obvious that this one goes to the Kiev 88. I cannot in good faith tell you to buy one for yourself, but I do really love the images this camera makes. Next up is best for portraits. I think this is another obvious one that I'm going to give to the Mamiya 645. We all know that medium format is beautiful, and when you get up close with these cameras, it's truly where the magic happens. I have a second place for this category, and that one goes to my Nikon F3. I really loved these engagement photos I got of Alan and Addie, and it's also much lighter than my medium format camera too, which makes it a great alternative. The next category is easiest to travel with. I don't know if there's a world where my Contax T2 wouldn't win this category. I always think it's funny how photographers are kind of always on this eternal quest to find the small camera that can capture fleeting moments. That's how I ended up with this camera, and it's been exactly perfect for this. My next category is best for beginners. The first place winner for this category is the Canon Ae-1. The price of this camera is honestly really crazy for the quality that you get, so that coupled with the fact that it's just so easy to use, I think is what makes it a perfect camera for any beginner. Second place goes to the Nikon F3. This camera is relatively inexpensive for its quality. It's durable, it captures beautiful images, it's very easy to use, and it has a ton of cool features like the top-down viewfinder and the auto functions. Most beautiful construction. Does it feel right? What does the shutter click sound like? Is it sturdy? This is very important to me when buying a camera. It's also just one of my favorite things about manual cameras in general. So the first place for this one goes to the Widelux. For me, this one automatically wins because it's a swing lens camera. I mean, it doesn't get much cooler than that. It feels very durable, and even though it's very durable, it doesn't feel awkward in your hand. It's just so satisfying to hold. Second place goes to the Mamiya 645. Medium format cameras are just always so beautifully built, but it is a bit heavy. The next category is most underrated. I was originally going to do most overhyped, but I honestly just love all my cameras so much for different reasons. The most underrated camera, I think, is the Widelux. It is a really cool camera, and I'm honestly surprised that I haven't seen more about it, considering how interesting of a camera it is. The next category is best value, and I really think this has to go to the Canon Ae-1. Last I checked, they were like $100 for the camera, and second place for this one is the Nikon F3. The quality and all the features that you get with this camera is truly impressive for the price that you can get it for. The next category is the most reliable, and that one has got to go to the Mamiya 645. I know I can use it professionally, I just don't have to worry about it. And in second place, I'm going to give that to the Contax T2. The next category is my favorite film stock and camera combination. This one goes to Cinestill BWXX on the Widelux. I think what makes this combination so special is you get so much detail, so much context with the panoramic photos in the Widelux that it truly makes every photo that you get feel like its own little story. I feel like that can easily get overwhelming when you're shooting with color, so the black and white really simplifies it and it makes it a bit easier to take in all the details. Second place is Portra 400 on the Mamiya 645. This is just a classically beautiful combination. Like this one from Arizona, for example. It's just beautiful. And my last category is, out of all the cameras I shot with in 2024, the best camera overall. This camera has made such beautiful images over the year, so much fun to use, so satisfying to use, and that camera is the Mamiya 645. It is just a truly special camera to me. I know that I can use it for professional use, for fun, for travel. It's my favorite camera of 2024. Second place has got to be the Widelux, which is wild considering that I've only had it less than a month. I knew right away when I used it that this format was just perfect for me. I'm really excited to see where it takes me in 2025. Overall, the winner of the Tiny Awards is the Mamiya 645. It was neck and neck with the Mamiya and the Widelux, but this one just won one more trophy than the Widelux did this year. And lastly, here are my all-time favorite photos of the year 2024 across all my cameras. These are the photos that I am the most proud of. It's always interesting how subjective this is for different people, but one way or another, these images just surprise and delight me. Some of my goals for the next year are to shoot more with the Nikon F3, to experiment with the Widelux, and to use some new cameras that I've never shot with before. Still to come is my road trip video that I shot with the winner, the Mamiya 645 and the Widelux. Make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons just so you know exactly when that drops. And let me know in the comments if there are any Tiny Award categories that you would be curious to see next year. Happy holidays, and I'll see you again in 2025.